Welcome back to the studios of the WPH, World Players of Handball, Tucson, Arizona. Dave Vincent, Dave Fink. This is the Elite 8 preview of Salt Lake City's Players Championship by Edel Handball. And we're going to talk about those players in the Elite 8, the very good guys that have accepted their invites, to include Paul Brady, our number 1, and our number 8, Daniel Cordova, everybody in between. Dave, let's start with Daniel Cordova. He is the Cinderella story of the whole year, basically, and he has come in because of a head-to-head matchup against Stephen Cooney, but it looks like possibly he could be playing Stephen Cooney again in Salt Lake City. How does that all fare out with Danny Cordova making the Elite 8?
Well, Danny Cordova, Dave, has had an incredible season. He skipped the first event. He's only played in 4 events. The first event, he finished 13th, picked up almost no points. So in the last 3 events, Dave, he's really made a name for himself. In fact, defeated Luis Moreno in the 9th place playoffs at the last tournament. Not many people can say that. Danny Cordova did play Stephen Cooney in that 9th place final at the New York Athletic Club, and that was for all the marbles, as we say, because the winner of that match got that 8th invite spot to Salt Lake City, and it was Danny Cordova winning that match 25-14. Just looked really impressive in that match, as he had throughout the entire tournament at the New York Athletic Club, with the exception of that match against Sean Lenning. Danny Cordova has an amazing serve, Dave. He moves so well, but I really think it all starts with that serve. I mean, he's got that two-way hop, and he hits it hard, too. And I see Daniel Cordova, who is the only player amongst the Elite 8 in Salt Lake City to have not started the year in the Elite 8. I see him potentially becoming the next number 1 after Paul Brady steps down. Who knows when that'll be.
Now, between all of that stuff that he did on the Race4Eight Tour, he also won the collegiate championships against a guy that's the former national finalist, Martin Mulkerns, and he did that very impressively with that serve that you're talking about. I believe Danny Cordova is a student of the game. He has either watched video or watched courtside, but he is doing something that is really impressive. We haven't seen a serve like that since Luis Moreno broke onto the scene.
Yeah.
He could reverse to the right, to the left. He changes it up. He has a great natural hook, which we've seen on video multiple times. But that reverse of his sets the table. He's also pinning himself against that left wall, which means that there's even a deeper angle over to the right, and he's doing a lot of tricks. And I think that he is fooling these top players, and that's going to be very difficult for whomever he faces for the first time.
Well, you speak about fooling top players. He hit Luis Moreno in the stomach with a serve. I've never seen that happen to Luis before. And Luis has some of the best reflexes and ability to read serves that I've ever seen, and he wasn't reading Daniel's serve at all, nor was really anyone in that event. Marco Chavez has played Daniel 3 times now this season, and even he was unable to return that serve when they faced off in the 9th place playoffs. It seems like the only 2 guys that could return that serve were Emmett Peixoto and Sean Lenning, who have defeated Daniel pretty easily this season. They're the only 2 guys that really have been able to defeat Daniel easily this season.
Yeah, he's becoming a fan favorite, and those that are aficionados of the sport of handball are sitting courtside just to see that serve alone. But what he does afterwards with that first strike is impressive. Another guy that's a serve and shoot artist, used to have the title of being the best server in the game, and I don't know if he's relinquished that or not. Also born in the very same area. He has also been a part of the system where Danny Cordova grew up. That's Naty Alvarado, who's old enough to be Danny Cordova's father. He is the 7th seed as we head into Salt Lake City.
Well, Naty Alvarado, Dave, is the oldest player amongst the Elite 8 in Salt Lake City. Danny Cordova, the youngest. In fact, Danny Cordova, the 2nd youngest invite in the history of the Players' Championship, the first being his brother Luis, who was 21 in 2012 when he was invited. Danny Cordova, 22. Naty Alvarado, 41. But, Dave, you say that Naty Alvarado, the former serve and shoot king, but I don't know, Dave. In New York, he looked like the current serve and shoot king. Luis Cordova and a couple other pro players came up to me after his win against Emmett Peixoto and said, I've never seen serves like that. I've never seen Naty serve like that. I don't think I've seen anyone serve like that. And he was following it up with amazing first strike kills. Naty Alvarado, just 2 starts this season on the Race4Eight 4 Tour, semifinals in both, which we've become accustomed to seeing from him, defeating Armando Ortiz and Emmett Peixoto, losing at the U.S. Open to Luis Moreno, who was number 1 at the time, and then losing to Paul Brady. So his only 2 losses on the season, Dave, to our number 1 and number 2 ranked players.
I was impressed with what Naty did when he engaged in a rally. He was able to create shots that I don't recall seeing from Naty for a couple years. Fade away, right corner kills, over the top with his right into the right corner.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that he was doing on the run, which I don't recall him doing that. He looked like he was getting old prior to all of this, and then it's like he shed 20 years from his life. I'd like to see Naty and Danny Cordova play.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
It'd be a fun matchup. So Naty Alvarado certainly could do some damage, and I think everybody in that bracket is fearing Naty now because of where he stands. And if we look at the next guy below Naty at number 6, that is Armando Ortiz. He stung Paul Brady last year in that opening round, but since then hasn't really done a lot. He did look more impressive against Paul Brady at New York, like he was trying to build himself up, but you need to do more in the offseason and in practice than just playing one good match. Can he still be dangerous?
Well, Dave, matches are won in the offseason. They're not won 5 minutes before a match starts by blasting your headphones and getting motivated. It's nice to see Armando Ortiz motivated because he looked a little bit flat earlier this season, but after an amazing season last year that saw him beat Emmett Peixoto and Martin Mulkerns and Naty Alvarado, Armando Ortiz has not made a semifinals in this Race4Eight season, which you would have never thought after he defeated Paul Brady, and it looked like he was going to go on to the finals at the Players' Championship, but didn't. But Dave, I think Armando Ortiz is suffering from a little bit of that Paul Brady hangover / great Race4Eight 3 season hangover, where you get a little bit complacent. You say, I've made it, I've arrived, I don't really have to do anything now. And Armando's finding out that I do have to do some things. He has, to his credit, stayed in the top 6, which is not easy, but he has had a first-round loss this year, and he's had some bad quarterfinal losses.
Okay, we're going to make that transition to my broadcast partner, Dave Fink. I know you hate talking about yourself, but Dave, you had really, I think, the best year ever on the Race4Eight Tour, just from a statistical standpoint. We saw some amazing wins. You did a lot of good stuff early on in the season, and then you had a hiccup there in New York where you lost to that youngster Colin Crehan after doing what you normally do, that is win a game in less than 5 minutes. Then you slipped up the next 2. Salt Lake City, I know, is going to be different for you.
Well, Dave, I know you love golf, and I feel like my season's been one round I shoot 78, the next round I shoot 62 and play the best I've ever played in my life, and that's kind of been the way it's been in my match at the New York Athletic Club. It was like I went out and shot 29 on the first 9 and then shoot a 42 on the back 9 and miss the cut. So it's a matter, I think, of finding some consistency. I don't really know what it is. I felt good in New York. It just didn't happen for me. Colin outplayed me and made the shots when he had to make them. But, I'm likely going to be playing Sean Lenning. If we both win our round of 16 matches, that's a big if for me at this point. But that'll be something that I look forward to play against Sean. We've played a number of times in the past. And, of course, Sean is another one of those guys that when he's playing great handball, he seems like he's unbeatable. Then you take a guy like Andy Nett who comes in there and pushes him a little bit early, weathers the Sean Lenning storm, and then goes on to beat him. And that's what we've seen, Dave, from Sean Lenning as we segue from me to Sean. But, we watched Sean in Houston. He looked like the greatest player of all time. He defeats Luis Moreno 15-3, 15-2 after defeating Armando Ortiz 15-2, 15-0 in the second and third games in Houston. We said, well, this is the guy that's going to beat Paul Brady. It didn't happen. It didn't even come close to happening in that final as Sean lost in just about 22 minutes to Paul Brady. And Dave, Sean Lenning's been that guy that we thought, well, he can beat Paul Brady. He's lost to him 11-10 twice. But since then, Dave, since he's gotten himself into shape and rededicated himself, he hasn't really been that close to beating Paul Brady.
No, but he has done the things that we recall him doing when he was younger, and those are those dominating 15-minute matches where his opponents score a total of 4 points or less, and he does it like this, and it's very fast, and the only way you can stop him is by calling timeouts, because if not, you're just going to be icing your, I don't even know if it's a workout. I heard one player say that, I just got done playing Sean, and I literally feel like I need to go out and run with that marathon outside in New York, which was going on at the time.
Well, that's true, Dave. You talk about Sean Lenning, and it isn't generally a workout when you play him. The rallies are so short, and it's either he's killing it or he's making errors, and there's not much you can do. Now, you talk about his contemporary and his rival, Emmett Peixoto, who's ranked one spot ahead of him at number 3. That is the exact opposite. That is a workout when you play Emmett. You feel like you've gone through a full workout after the first rally of the match against Emmett because he just keeps pushing the ball around. He pushes you into the backcourt, side to side, and that's really his strategy. He's a grind and pound type of player, and he's just looking to wear you down and wear you out. And Emmett Peixoto, Dave, comes into this event ranked number 3. He's 1 point away from Luis Moreno. If he finishes ahead of Luis Moreno in Salt Lake City, he'll take over that number 2 ranking and the $9,000 year-end bonus that comes with finishing the year at number 2. It would also be the first time in race history that he's ranked ahead of Luis Moreno. Now, those are big ifs, Dave. There's a lot that could happen. Emmett Peixoto will likely play Armando Ortiz in the round of 8 in Salt Lake City. If he's to win that, he will then play the winner of Luis Moreno and Naty Alvarado, and who knows what could happen in that match. Dave, but it certainly will be motivating for Emmett. He knows he can't finish the year number 1, but number 2 is second best. I mean, number 2 is a very impressive accomplishment. He finished last year at number 2 as well.
Well, the position that Emmett's in and everybody else, you have 2 goals here. 1, you win the tournament. 2, you take down Paul Brady in the process. And 3, you see if you can move up a tier on that season-ending bonus, and also just ending the season with a win. That's a big thing. Yeah. As we look at Luis Moreno, he seems to be trending in the opposite direction. He didn't do well in New York at all. We know that. He won the first 2 stops, or made it to the finals of the first 2 stops, losing to Paul Brady. Do you think that when Luis said, I'm coming into the season with a lot of verve, and then he runs into that brick wall of Brady, he just sort of said, okay, that was the best I could offer. I'm going to take a step back?
Well, I'm not sure it started with those finals losses to Paul Brady. You saw at the end of last season, Luis Moreno just wasn't himself. In New York, he lost to Robbie McCarthy in the round of 8, then he loses to John Iglesias in the playoffs. Then he goes to Salt Lake City, didn't really look all that great, lost to Robbie McCarthy again. Just seems like, Dave, after winning 9 of the first 18 race events, with the final event being Houston in 2014, he just hasn't been that same Luis Moreno. He hasn't won an event since. Paul Brady has gone on to win 5 race events in a row. Luis has been in the finals of just 2 of those. So it's not the Luis Moreno that we've expected, and Luis is so talented, Dave. It's just a matter of, I think, him wanting to do it and him training to do it and getting in the right frame of mind to do that. And I think if he does, Luis is probably the guy that can give Paul Brady his greatest challenge.
Okay, sitting at my desk earlier today, I had a phone conversation with Luis Moreno, and it could have gone on forever. And I took that opportunity really for myself just to interview him, because we live in the same town, we just don't get to see him that often. And I know that when you do see him at the club, you ask him questions as well. And I said, what are you going to do here for Salt Lake City? Are you going to work out? Are you going to get back onto track? And he said, yes, I'm definitely going to work out. I'm getting a personal trainer, and I'm really going to try to tackle. So it could be very interesting to see where Luis goes, because you and I both know that when he wants something, he gets it. Mm-hmm. That's the type of kid he is. He has a lot of internal strength and power, but if he doesn't want it, the opposite of that happens too. So let's see if we can funnel Luis back in and get some good results from him. Paul Brady, it's really kind of known that this guy, the only blip on his radar was this tournament last year where he lost to Armando Ortiz, and then he said later, I think this is good that this happened for me. I think I needed this to happen to kind of reset my engine. And boy, has it reset his engine. He won the national championship. He's won every race stop. He won the U.S. Open. He won the last one. He won the one before that. He has been a machine. I actually think that he was great before, and we were talking about him being the best player of all time before the season started. Before he won the national championship, we certainly started talking about it afterwards. But after watching how he played this year, I mean, he has stepped it up even to if he was A before or A+, it's A++ now.
Yeah, he's been absolutely unbelievable, Dave, this season. I feel like he's moving better than he's ever moved. His serve is better than it's ever been. And he's developed this pass shot that he can double bounce before the back wall, and it's winning him so many rallies. The guy's got the complete package. And I think, Dave, for the Race4Eight pros, this will be even more of a challenge to defeat Paul Brady at this championship, because he lost in this championship last year, and he'll be really motivated and gunning for this one, as well as going for that perfect season. Paul Brady is all about milestones. No one's ever played a perfect Race4Eight season. The best season we've ever seen was Luis Moreno winning 5 out of 8 on the first Race4Eight season. Paul Brady's 5 out of 5 this year, going for 6 for 6 this year. He's the Miami Dolphins, Dave, of 1972, Kentucky Wildcats basketball of this season. He's trying to write history, and I don't see anything that's going to stop him.
He said multiple times throughout the season on post-game interviews, and when I had a chance to interview him, he spoke about the Players' Championship meant a lot to him, and he wants to get that title. And when Paul Brady says stuff like that, he's going to go after it and get it. And I really do believe, just watching him work this whole season long for this one final thing, that the one object on his mind was, I'm going to win that Players' Championship trophy. And so I fully expect him to be gunning for that. But we also saw some other players push him throughout in New York, and certain games and certain moments, especially with Emmett Peixoto early on in the season too, being able to kind of get into Paul Brady and maybe even get close to forcing tiebreakers the way that Naty Alvarado played. And I do expect there to be a match here, don't get me wrong, but Paul Brady is definitely wanting it as much as anybody else that is in the name date. It is the Elite 8 edition of this preview that we're giving you for the Players Championship, Salt Lake City, April 17th, 18th, and 19th, where anybody can play. If you want to play alongside Paul Brady and see if you can defeat him, you can. Enter the qualifier. Starts Friday morning at 9 o'clock. There's nothing special that you need to do. Just go to our website and find the online registration or the paper entry form, and then you too can enter and play alongside the pros. The Salt Lake City WPH Race4Eight ACES Players Championship alongside Edel Handball, April 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Sports Mall, and it is going to be a blast. Dave?
Yeah, I can't wait for it, Dave. It's the Players Stop. It's the one that the players voted their favorite stop 3 years in a row. This will be our 4th year in a row there for a race stop. The Stolzbergs are just incredible hosts. They've got that amazing Saturday night banquet, Dave, that has got all that great food, and then the players migrate out to the 3-wall courts in the parking lot of the Ace Disposal campus, and then they generally just play all night. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Really it is. And not only just the elite players, even though that's what we're talking about here today, but there's the women's pros, the 40-plus pros, a Pro-Am doubles, an open singles that has prize money, a big ball division. They've really, truly embraced this whole major tournament.
Yeah, I've seen women, Dave, win big ball games on those 3-wall courts in 6-inch heels. Just kidding. They took their heels off. Sorry.
Okay, that wraps it up. It sounds like that was going to be fun, right? What time in the morning was this?
That was at 2.
2 in the morning.
Yeah.
You never sleep, do you? Never. Never go to sleep. Why would you need to?
Yeah, there's so much great stuff happening in this sport. Why miss anything?
Okay, well, you could watch us on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app on Saturday and Sunday of the event. Friday will be on race4eight.com, our website, www.wphlive.tv. For Dave Fink, Dave Vincent, this has been the preview of the Elite 8. We'll have more preview stuff coming up with the women and the qualifiers shortly, so stay tuned for that. I know you can't wait for it.